Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Bright Side of Beauty podcast presented by Beyond Skin Aesthetics. This episode is going to be super fun. Who knows where it's going to go, but I know that you are going to get so much value from it because today I am joined by my friend Jared, and Jared is who I call the piano man of aesthetics, but he is so much more than that. He is the mastermind behind so many different brands and faces that you see, and he gets their faces out to you. I do not want to steal all the glory and give him a complete intro, so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about his journey, but it is so cool. So, Jared, welcome to the Bright Side of Beauty podcast.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. I've been a long-time listener, first time caller.
First time caller.
You've done such a good job with this thing. I'm just excited and honored to be a part of it. And your vibe over there looks so good too. I'm like thinking of ideas for how I can upgrade my space to make it even cooler.
We're back in the original studio today so that it matches your vibe a little bit too. So we kind of jumped back and forth, but for the OG listeners to the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, this is the original studio. However, new year, new colors, we changed from pink in the back, that like pinky purple, to blue. And I feel like it just matches the vibe for today. It goes well.
I'm in. Well, I'm Jared Rohrer. I have been in the field of aesthetics for a little over 10 years at this point. Since 2015 was when I got started in the field of medical aesthetics. And so I've seen a lot and been around for a lot of rises and falls during the industry. I cut my teeth working for Shinobe Aguilera. My wife was front desk for him, and he knew that I was kind of a creative. And so he had hired me to be kind of his like creative director, and that spiraled into a lot of amazing training programs that we pioneered together. And then that kind of spiraled into us having our own agencies. Now we own Aesthetic Conversion, which is a web SEO and Google Ads agency. So more or less, we specialize in getting eyeballs on aesthetic clinics, and then we focus on getting those eyeballs off of the website and into your sales pipeline. So how efficiently can we get people to see you and then get them off of your website and into your sales pipeline? We don't want them hanging out there for a long time. We want them in your inbox. So yeah, and I've been doing that for a while, and I get to speak on behalf of a lot of cool companies like a Galderma, like Revision, like SkinCeuticals, and get to speak at a lot of the shows too, alongside amazing key opinion leaders like yourself. So yeah, that's a little about me. My biggest passion is I want clinic owners and business owners to win. I want them to feel confident moving forward with their plan, and I want them to win. And you will see that pattern anytime you talk to me. You'll see that pattern in anything that I do. It's a guiding light for me, is I just want you to win. And so for anybody who's listening, I'm hoping that everything that I can bring to the table today will just help you get that much better so that you can win in 2026.
What I think is really cool about you as a voice in our industry is that you really have been on multiple sides of it. You've been inside of the practice helping to build that. You've seen key opinion leaders kind of come out. You have been really in the numbers. I mean, you're a numbers guy, you're a business guy, you're a creative, all in one. Actually, one of, I think, the coolest things that you do is you were a dueling piano player, and you used to play at Disney. That's kind of pause at the moment.
Yeah. JellyRolls. Yep. And JellyRolls will be reopening. So I'll be playing there again when they reopen sometime later this year.
Oh, good. Finally. I knew it was coming sometime, but wasn't sure if it was going to be this year or if it was going to end up being next year. One of, I think, the coolest moments for me becoming friends with you was when I realized that you were kind of this cross between both of my worlds, being in aesthetics and Disney, having a Disney background myself. And I see a lot of that come through because you are, again, such a business mind and such a numbers behind what you're doing. And like, there's a purpose behind everything you're doing. You're not just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks with it, but yet you are creative at the same time. And you throw all of these ideas out there that really help. There's no limit to the ideas in Jared's mind. I mean, every single person gets something fresh from you, and you don't gatekeep, you don't hold back. You really are just a resource for everyone. And I think that is why our conversation today is going to jump all over the place. But I would like to start with, you started with Shinobe in aesthetics. And how did you see his practice kind of grow that you feel like made Shino's practice as successful as it is. Because when you think of Shino today, you think of the mind that he has, but you also think of the success that he's had in his business, separate from just him as a practitioner himself. What do you think was that success that you were able to find while you were there?
Yeah. So have you met Shino personally? Have you met him in person?
I very briefly, such a kind person.
That's
such
what I
a
was going
kind
to say
person.
is he is electric when you're around him. He is somebody that, and you see him in his posts and you see him on stage and you always wonder, is this a real person? Like, is it just an act? Is it a character? He is that same exact person behind closed doors as he is on the stage, as he is in his Instagram posts. He is raw and transparent, that man. And I would say, so his early success, because I came around after his clinic had already like generated some decent success. He, at the time that I started working for him, he had another injector and he had 3 estheticians working for him. So he had a fairly large clinic when I started working for him. And a lot of his early success, I think he's just drenched in intention, and he had a really good business partner that helped him build. And then when I came around, he was kind of in the interim, and so I was really focused on building his masterclass, his training academy, his public speaking.
Okay.
The year before I started working with him, he traveled, I think 18 weekends out of the year, or something like that. It was something that was like, it was respectable, 18-ish weekends, maybe 20 something trips. The first year I worked for him, I said, hey, like, how much can I give you here? He was like, all bets are off. Just book me as much as you want. Like, let's just go as hard as we can here. And that year, I think he was gone for 43 weekends out of the year. It was, and it was probably more than 50 flights all year, because he was doing some weeks he was doing a training in Louisville, and then he was flying straight from there to a lecture in New York or something like that. So I booked that man out. And he had the demand, he just did not have the fulfillment. So he did not have the fulfillment or the brain around his training. So, and I see this with a lot of clinics and a lot of educators, is they'll have the demand, but they just don't have the process for fulfillment in getting themselves out there. And unfortunately for him, in the beginning, he was the product. And so I had to just go get him on stages everywhere and get him to shake his butt in front of everybody. Eventually we built like a master class that people could come to him, and there was a much more structured approach that was a lot easier on his body. But yeah, I would say in the very beginning, his intention was the most electric thing. Like they didn't have tons of intentionality around marketing and sales. He's an enigma. With his masterclass and his training business, a lot of that was building really efficient structure around training so that he could actually fulfill, because he was hitting a ceiling for himself because he was managing himself, unfortunately.
That is a wonderful segue to something else that I wanted to pick your brain about today. I think what a lot of people run into the problem of is we might have all of these wonderful leads that are coming through. And for us at Beyond Skin Aesthetics, we have these wonderful leads that are coming in from aesthetic conversion and working with you. But then how do you get those into your actual treatment room? And how do you have the manpower and the system set up where it's not super overwhelming? And this is something that I think, being vulnerable as a business, we ebb and flow with it, of whether it feels like it is overwhelming or not. And it might be the exact same amount of leads. It's just we fell off of what our system is. So what would you say is a way for practices to get a grip on that and set that up for success, whether it is them doing it themselves as solo practitioners, or they have a bigger practice where they may have somebody dedicated for that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, first of all, I love the vulnerability of you saying, because I was, as you were talking about that, I was like, oh, this is timely, because I know that that's something you guys have been rethinking. And so what I would love, I'm going to give you my 2 cents, but I would love if you have pushback on that, because this is, the fulfillment of the leads themselves is where my expertise starts to become speculative rather than like, something I do specifically. But here's what I would say, and here's what I tell every single clinic that we work with. And if you know this one thing about your front desk, it will change everything for your business. I believe that your front desk, you should think of them as appointment setters, not as janitors, not as concierge, not as greeters, not as receptionists. They are your appointment setters, and their entire job is keeping your books full. Now, does keeping the front clean impact keeping your books full? Sure. You want people to want to come back. Does smiling and being presentable at work, does that all? Sure. You want them to keep coming back. However, in my opinion, there's really only two metrics that judge whether or not your front desk is doing their job with fulfilling on leads. And that is your appointment booking rate. So what percentage of leads turned into an appointment booked? And that number should be 55% plus. A lot of consultants will say, oh, it should be 65%. Some say 75%. I've heard some say 85%. I think 85% is really high, in my opinion. But there's consultants that swear by it. So, more power to them. I just think 85% feels to me like you're losing potential leads. I don't know. I think 55% and up is respectable. If it's anywhere south of that, that's when you probably have an issue with how much they're following up, with how much they are, how their actual process is when they're reaching out to the leads. So step one is track your appointment booking rate. You can do that through a good CRM, like you guys have used a high level CRM. And the other number is your rebooking rate. So what percentage of people who had an appointment rebooked another appointment? Those two numbers, you can tell, in my opinion, you can tell your entire profitability and performance of your front desk staff is what percentage of new leads did you book into an appointment, and what percent of his existing patients did you rebook to the next appointment? And that rebooking rate should be 75%. And you can track that typically. And answer me this too, because you guys use Boulevard. Yeah, you use Boulevard.
We use Boulevard.
I don't know if Boulevard tracks that specifically, but it's a fairly easy number where you can just track it, where it's just like, we had 10 appointments today. How many of them turned into rebooked? And it's like, great, 7. You have a 70% rebooking rate today. Like your front desk could track that for themselves. So those two numbers, in my opinion, are how you would beef that up. I would be very interested to hear any rebuttals or complexities that you're dealing with that I'm not thinking of, because I give that advice to all clinics, but it's easy for me to say that because, I'm not the receptionist. I'm not in the clinic every single day. So in my head, I say, yeah, if you just track those, you'll win. But are there other complexities that you're seeing that you're like, well, that doesn't take into consideration XYZ?
I think that there's a couple different levels to that. And I think that it also changes so quickly in just the way that consumers function. In my mind, there are two different sets of consumers. There are the consumers that want immediate. If they reach out to you, they want to book within 5 minutes, or they're going to go to somebody down the street. And then there's the reverse that take a year to nurture because they don't even know if they necessarily really want to. They kind of want to stalk you online. They're looking at multiple different places for following you, of seeing, do I vibe with you? Do I trust you? Am I sure that I really want to get this service done? So you've got kind of this like instant gratification consumer, and then you've got this more like slowly nurturing consumer. And having all of those within the same funnel can sometimes be challenging for somebody that doesn't know how to quickly read, okay, what type of person is this? And there are people that want you to pick up the phone and call them. And there are people that only want text messages. And there are people that only maybe want emails, or they might think that an email is the dumbest thing ever because it's going in their pile and they're never going to look at it. And you have all these different people, and everything takes time as well. So when you have somebody sitting at your front desk, and maybe they're also the person that's responsible for answering the phones, but you want them to also greet the people walking in the door, and they're like your welcoming, smiling face, you kind of get this push of how much time do they actually have and what is the most valuable time. And I know this is something that we've talked about recently as well, of having your focus on the most important thing at hand and what's actually going to yield the best result for you. What is your opinion on phone calls? Because I think that is truly the biggest pushback that I hear from our practice as well as other practices of, I just don't have time to call 20 leads a day. When I'm dealing with everything else in between. Like what's your opinion on phone calls? Are they necessary?
Yeah, they are necessary. Phone calls convert the most out of, at least from all the numbers that I'm seeing, phone calls still convert the most patients. Now, you can automate your text. You're just going to lose way more of your leads. I think phone calls are still king, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And when I see clinics do when I see clinics do this with their phone calls, when I see them use this one tip, it usually super increases their sales, and that's double dialing. Are you familiar with this?
No, tell me more.
Double dialing is where if I were to call you right now from an unknown number, what are you going to do?
I'm going to ignore it. Or my phone's going to filter it out and it's automatically going to go to
Or your
voicemail.
phone will straight up filter it. Yeah, go to, whatever. It'll go straight to voicemail, something like that. But typically you're not going to pick up. If I call immediately afterwards, after being sent to voicemail, do you know that the odds of you picking up go up by 70%?
No way. Really?
Yes, really.
And
Goes up by 70%.
happily?
What's that?
Are they happy? Are they happy when they pick up the phone?
I don't know because I don't call. But what I would say is that most people that are submitting a form or something like that, they might say, hey, can you just text me? I don't want to talk. Totally fine or whatever. But you have established that trust. There's just something about like a happy, bright voice on the other side that's like, hey, thank you so much for reaching out to Beyond Skin Aesthetics. We got your form online. We'd love to get you booked for your consultation. And the person's like, oh, so sorry, I don't have time. But now they've heard this really pleasant voice that they can trust. So there is something to it with the relationship. The more and more that we go towards text or even AI running all of our sales pipelines, we just start to lose the personality and we start to lose the relationship. And I think that relationship is going to be a big currency in the future. So I don't think phone calls are dead. One thing I've seen clinics use recently that is pretty that has been impactful for the ones that I've seen do it is they just have a person picking up the phones in like a back room. Their job is just to be the phone receptionist in a different room. There's a front desk and there is a phone picker upper. And that's it. Their whole job is just phones and appointments and following up and all that stuff. And I think some people even do that from home. So that could be a way around that so that the front desk can truly be front desk and their whole job is rebooking. And the other people that are on phone calls are on, their appointment conversion or their lead conversion rate.
Okay, so practically it's having two front desk people, but the second person isn't actually physically sitting at the front desk. Or maybe they are, but they have their jobs split up where they know what their task is at hand. And they may be responsible for the original booking, or they may be responsible for the rebooking and the greeting side of things.
So
I like that.
If I were a clinic, I would probably do that. Is I would probably have a person and maybe like it'd be a sweet perk, like to make that a remote option for people where it's like, hey, you want to come into the office, 2 days a week on 1 week where you're doing pickups on the other 3 days, and then you flip flop or something like that. If I owned an office, that would probably be the direction that I would go, just to make it like dead simple and it's really easy for people to judge the performance. Case in point, by the way, I had a clinic I was working with, and the clinic owner said, oh, this gal, she's no good. She was just negative about this front desk gal. And I said, well, what kind of performance metrics are you holding her accountable to? And she goes, well, none really. I just want her to, pick up the phones and book the appointments, and she's just not doing it. And I said, let me talk to her. And I showed her the high level CRM, and I showed her, hey, look, there's one number in here that matters. It's the appointment booking rate. That is it. If you can get that number above 55%, I promise you will never hear a complaint from your boss ever again. And at the time, the girl was at a 24% booking rate. It was like not next to nothing, but it was very low. And the following month she was at a 65%. The owner was thrilled. She was like, oh my gosh, it's awesome. Like, cause they already had leads. They just didn't have the follow-up. And all she did was just focus on getting those people converted and focused on, okay, what things can I do to get them to do it? So she would double dial. There was a follow-up pipeline built into her CRM. So there was like automated text going out to the person, everything that you should do. So like, the texts, those can be automated. You don't have to, your team should never have to stress about that. But the phone calls, I mean, like, maybe this is one more example. I hired an assistant a year ago, Tony, who is my lifesaver and I am so grateful for. And one thing that Tony started doing for me a year ago was she just started following up on my sales. And my sales conversion rate increased for our company, increased by like 45% just from her following up. There were times like before Christmas, she sent this mass email out to every lead that didn't convert, saying, "Hey, by the way, you have any questions?" And we had like 4 people that were like, "Oh my gosh, I've been meaning to reach out to you. I want to work with you." Blah 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 blah. Like 4 that were like, "Oh my gosh, I just keep forgetting to call you." So there are riches in follow up, and so you just, in my opinion, you just got to make that someone's job. That it's like their job is to follow up on those leads until the lead is officially like, leave me alone. I don't want to come in. It's like, great, not my person. You don't want to come in. I get it. So sorry.
I think I've heard you talk about this breakdown before of have a text automation where as soon as, your lead may be on your website form or they may be on social media or however they're finding you, but they end up in your pipeline, you send them a text message, you get a response, and that buys you a little bit of time to then be able to pick up the phone or have like a real human to human interaction with that. And the importance also of training your AI to be able to respond in the proper way as well. I think that there is value to your point with the phone calls. And I just had this conversation with my team this week of even if they don't pick up the phone, there's still value in you leaving that voicemail. Because who doesn't at least listen to 5 seconds of a voicemail on their phone? Like normally you don't just delete it. You're curious. Yeah. So if you see like, hey, this is Delaney from Beyond Skin Aesthetics. I was just calling about the Botox ad that we're currently running on Facebook that you showed some interest in. I'd love to answer some questions that you have. If somebody reads that description, they're probably going to be like, I wonder what this person sounds like. If they don't follow us on social media and know what my voice sounds like, or they, haven't been into the office. And so then it's making that connection where maybe I didn't actually talk to them on the phone, but that phone call still had value to it because I left the voicemail. So the importance of not just being like, hi, this is Beyond Skin Aesthetics. Give us a call back. This is our phone number. And then hanging up the phone.
Purpose.
It's your opportunity. Yeah, it's your opportunity for personality. And the personality is what we are losing in, I think, today's marketing battle because everything is automated. And you have to automate things to stay current, but you also have to have the personality. So I like that. And automation is something that I guess automation and search, because aesthetic conversion does SEO. That is what you are. I mean, you truly are focused in. And what SEO is search engine optimization. So getting your name to pop up everywhere you go. And was that like a little quiz for me that I knew what
It's
that
very
meant?
good. Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
but like I think we throw around like you need SEO, you need SEO, you need SEO. But say it out loud, everyone. It's search engine optimization. So what does that mean? When somebody searches you, you want to pop up wherever that may be. So is that on Google? Is that in ChatGPT? That's something that we've talked about a lot as well. Where do you feel like practices focus should be at on where to show up?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we're shifting towards is AEO, which is answer engine optimization. So AEO is what AI is really using. So you can think of AEO as AI engine optimization. It's not. It's answer engine optimization, but it's because people are asking it questions. So people are saying, who has the best glacial facial? Is that what it's called? glacial skin treatment near me.
Yes.
Little plug for you guys.
Thank you.
Whatever near me, and then they'll say, "Oh my gosh!" ChatGPT looks up, or Grok, or Claude, or Gemini, whatever. They part of how they are doing this is they are using a search engine. They're Googling things. ChatGPT is straight up Googling it. It's finding all the most authoritative results. It's compiling them together, and then it's giving its best advice to the user. And so search engine optimization is a big part of that. You're showing up in the AI searches, so that it can then feed you to the person. And the way that it's searching is it will take your question and it will do 15 to 20 different variants of that question. Who has the best glacial skin, blah, 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 blah. And then it'll look up, what is glacial skin? How is it done? Who has the best results? Who has the best reviews? Who has what? It'll ask a bunch of variants of those questions and then serve up who shows up the most. And so being an answer engine, so making sure that you have a really robust FAQ, making sure that you have a lot of authority on the pages that you've made for those services, maybe for your about, and then making sure that you have, just robust FAQ all over the site. So whether it's an FAQ page or just good FAQ on each service page is a super simple way to win in AEO, as we are kind of growing. SEO is still going to be important because you do want to show up in Google search, and Chat GPT and the other AI engines, they use, a Google search to find you. But being an authority and having lots of answers is like the biggest things that you can do to win right now on your website.
I love all of that. Okay, I did not put those in two separate categories. So I just learned a little something. That is two completely, I was kind of looking at that as like, this is how you're working at the SEO, not that they are two separate things. So that's not overwhelming for the practice owner to be like, oh my gosh, here's another thing that I have to worry about. That goes hand in hand together. But okay, I learned a little bit something new there.
There's a level of like technical schema where it's like, oh, if you organize it properly, it's going to help you a little bit. But what I'll say is AI is getting really smart. And so it's getting easier and easier for somebody that if they want to have a fighting chance locally, that they can start showing up for themselves. Are they going to beat somebody who has a full-on SEO agency working for them? Probably not. But can they at least take a little piece of the pie and get some more subjective, display in Google and AI? I think for sure. And so if they can just, if these clinics can establish themselves as authorities on their pages, so making sure that they have a really robust description of what the service is or how it's done, and then really great FAQ, they can at least win. They can get some small wins for themselves if they're doing it themselves.
So just having your service menu on your website is not cutting it these days, is what you're saying?
Not totally. No, not totally. And I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth. You guys don't have pricing on your website, right?
We do not.
Okay,
no.
Cool. So there's a handful of clinics recently who have told us like, oh, we want pricing on our website. And I'm like, why? And they say, well, because everyone keeps calling asking about the prices. And I'm like, okay, so everyone keeps calling.
Good problem.
They're like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, then I think let's pivot those conversations. Hey, what's the price on Tox? It's like, well, tell me what you need. Well, I want my lips to be more full. And it's like, well, then you're in for a big disappointment because Tox is not going to help with that. I had a whole conversation with my dad the other night, and I've been in this industry 10 years. Me and Monica have been in this industry for 10 years. And my dad was like, Botox goes in the lips, right? And I was like, Dad, it does not for what you think it's doing. You can't. Right. Yes, you can. There is ways to use Tox around the lips, Dad, but it's not. You think it's filler, and he goes, "It's not the same thing." I said, "No, it's not. It's not indeed." Being able to educate that brand newest person so that they're not going and hurting themselves by saying, they're just going on your website and saying, oh, okay, great. I can get this. I can get these deep hard set wrinkles. I'm 78 years old and these deep hard set wrinkles are just going to vanish if I use Tox, because they did their research, and it's only going to cost me a couple $100 or whatever. And it's like, well, actually you need a CO2, you need a fully ablative CO2 to get rid of those. And it's going to be much more expensive. So those people need you to call. Anyway, all that to say, when somebody insists on putting pricing on a website, I always give a little bit of pushback, because if their brand is, hey, we're transparent and we like to, for sure, that's awesome. That's your brand and that's how you want. I love it. Go for it. If it is something where it's like, I'm trying to avoid people calling me, and it's like, what are we doing? What are you talking about? You want people to call you. That's my little soapbox is don't put pricing on your website if it's for the purpose of avoiding phone calls. That is crazy.
Yes. I want to say that we have starting prices on things.
Do you?
And I could be wrong.
I think starting prices is fine.
I think we did that so that it wasn't like we didn't have it on our website, but we weren't getting into that like, well, I want one syringe of filler to get rid of everything on my face type thing. Like, because you run into that and I think that there's still that consumer out there. I think we're starting to move away from it. I could be totally wrong, and it could just be our patients that are coming in that are getting away from it. But there seems to be a move away from the nickel and diming and like the, filler. I don't even know. Just trying to like Groupon your way through. Like the consumer's not looking for a deal all the time anymore.
The injector community has done a really good job of that, I believe. I think it's been the community that has gotten rid of that because everybody has, and I believe personally, shout out to Galderma. I think Galderma has done an amazing job driving this conversation forward, which is creating outcomes for patients and not selling syringes or selling units. And so clinics in general have been building their sales pipeline around how can I sell a result to this patient
Mm-hmm.
rather than how can I sell a syringe to this patient. And so the more that clinics have gotten towards that, the significantly better their leads have been, because people aren't as like, well, how much is a syringe? It's like, well, no, our lips cost this much, to do
Mm-hmm.
full facial rejuvenation, rebalancing, it's this much. There isn't this like per syringe or per unit pricing.
My perception is the fear behind doing that for practitioners that haven't moved to that. The fear behind it is, well, what if this person needs 8 syringes and this person only needs 2 syringes? I'm, be losing my butt on the one that needs the 8 syringes. And I think, one, are you really putting 8 syringes in one
I was
area
just
for
gonna say, I was
somebody?
like, that is a
So
ton.
but two, it is knowing your numbers, knowing what product goes where and how much you typically use for it, and then having it set as a treatment too. So typically you're not going to do that all in one sitting. If they have 8 syringes in their face, it might be in one sitting, but that's going to be in all different areas of their face. Or if they need, say, 4 syringes over a year period in their cheeks, I'm totally making this up, so please nobody judge me if I just like said something totally atrocious there. But if it is like that, you're not doing it all at one time. So then you have them come back. That's a separate treatment and you're charging for that separate treatment too. So you're able to still make sure that your bottom line, you're getting good revenue from that. You're getting good ROI for the person walking through your door, and you're selling the outcome versus getting into that nickel and diming
Yeah.
situation.
And when you sell the outcome, you preserve patient results. You're prioritizing the result and not their pocketbook. If you're selling syringes, oftentimes clinicians will be like, oh, well, but it's, I know it can be expensive, and then they're like apologizing for what they're telling these
Mm-hmm.
people to get. When you sell an outcome, you say, hey, if you want to get rid of those deep set wrinkles, here's what you have to do. And here's the plan. There is no getting around it. This is what the things are, and here's how much they cost. And I would love to get you to that result using that, because the consumer is learning that it's about the hand that is doing it. It's not about the product itself. It's like you're not pharmacists. Like
Mm-hmm.
the injectors are not selling syringes. Like, Galderma is selling syringes to the injectors, who are the artisans that are performing. You know what I mean? It'd be like going to a builder and saying, well, how much exactly is the hammer going to cost that you're using to build my house? Like, how much does the hammer cost, and how much they're at? Like, what are we talking about? No, we're going to a builder who can build an excellent house, which is exactly what we're doing with injectors. We're going to an injector who knows how to take care of a face.
I almost hate to describe it this way, but I feel like it's the perfect description. I had somebody come in the other day that was talking about she wanted to go to her friend who is a newer injector. She started injecting almost 2 years ago, and she's just not getting the same outcomes that she gets at our practice. And that is for no other reason. Well,
Of course.
there's experience with that, of course, that we are a practice that has been open for almost 10 years at this point. So there's a lot of experience behind that, of course. But I think that there is there's this line between sound medicine and the artistry that injectors walk. And the really, really good ones are able to do both, where you know that it's going to be medically sound, you're going to be safe in their chair, but they have the aesthetic eye that matches what you're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with if your best friend may be a totally medically sound injector and have a beautiful eye, but it doesn't match what you're looking for. It's kind of like your hairstylist. They might be two fantastic hairstylists, but you're going to go with the one that matches your vibe a little bit more. And there's an injector for everyone. There's a practice for everyone, and that's okay. But it's this tricky line of both, where you have to match the artistry with then the medicine, and not forget that we are not pharmacists, that there is that art component into everything. And in today's world too, there's also the experience factor of it. So I think, and maybe this is because this is the side of the business that I'm on and my focus is on a lot, but I think that there is so much value behind what is the website experience like? What is the social media experience like? What is the phone call experience like? The text message experience like? What's it like when they walk in your door? Does that match the rest of the experience and the expectations that you've set up? And does that expectation follow all the way through the end of their treatment and the end of their recovery? do you set the expectation that you're going to call them for a follow-up and then you don't call them? That's something where maybe, you run into that. So there's so many things at play with that. And that can be very overwhelming for a practice. I think something that for us at Beyond Skin, because we do have so many different minds that we all focus on our pieces and then it comes together so beautifully and we work together really well. And I think it's an edge that we have as a business, and it takes a lot of stress off of us because we are able to separate it. But there are a lot of solo business owners out there that are managing all of these ideas and making sure that their experience is seamless all the way through. What, in your opinion, Jared, do you feel like is the success roadmap of this is where you should focus on, and these are the tips that I would have to make it as simple of a system as possible, but as effective for your patient experience where it's manageable for those people?
Like a single solo injector.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think that's a
big
great question. And it's something that I think about a lot when I'm chatting with, whether it's sales calls or whether we have solo injectors that we work with. The most important thing, in my opinion, so in order to win as a business owner, you have to get an A+ in 3 classes. You got to get an A+ in marketing, which is, getting eyeballs on your business. You have to get an A+ in sales, which is turning those eyeballs into a paying patient. And then you have to get an A+ in service delivery, which is the actual experience that you just made a bunch of promises in marketing and sales. You said, it's going to feel like this. We're like this. We're concierge. We're white glove. We're blah, 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 blah. Our results are like this. And then in sales, same deal. Oh my gosh, we're going to totally be able to achieve exactly what oh yes, we are. Service is when the rubber hits the road. And that's when you actually have to fulfill on the things that you just made promises in there. If you can get an A+ in those 3 classes, you win. And what I'll say is that in America specifically, we have an overabundance, in my opinion, of education available. We have nobody is shy on investing into their education, which is awesome. We have amazing conferences like Aesthetic Next or the medical spa show with Am Spa, or Cult Aesthetics coming up in May. Which I'm a big fan of.
Shameless plug, go see Jared.
Have you been to a cult?
I haven't. I have it on my list for this year though.
Oh, really? You're going to come?
I'm trying to get to, you're going to be in Florida, right?
Yeah, it's going to be in Fort Lauderdale in May. Shout out Allie and Jen. We're a little ad for Cult made us way here. It is going to rock though. Like, it's easily my favorite. I've spoken for Cult once before. Sorry, I don't mean to make this a whole Cult advertisement, but I've spoken for Cult once before. And it is so, like, the experience for the attendee is so rich. You're getting this like one-on-one with all of these like industry experts, where it's like 30 people in the room. It's next to nothing, but you're getting super conference level speakers and education. It's dynamite. And Allie and Jen do a first-class job with the show. So yeah, it'll be in
I love it. And it's not just for injectors, right? It's for the whole practice. It's like there's something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. There's business management. There's actual, injection or whatever. There's ultrasound, guided ultrasound, lectures as well. There's like a handful of different things that they do, but I'll be speaking on the business. But anyway, all that to say, there's an overabundance of education available within the industry. So most people have the service side fairly down as far as accomplishing the treatment. I would say out of the hundreds and hundreds of clinicians I've ever worked with, I think there's ever been 2 that I've been like, oh, you should not have a syringe in your hands. It's probably happened twice that I've thought you should not be injecting. Most people are fine. And so I think for the person who is the single chair injector, the solo injector, you've got your own small business, you need to focus as heavily as possible, in my opinion, on sales and marketing. Until you can start to farm that out to your team. So is marketing and sales, and then the numbers that you're going to need is for sales. If you start seeing that your appointment booking rate goes below 40%, it is likely time for you to hire a front desk person to handle your appointment setting, because you will make more money on them working for you than you will lose on spending for them. So it'll be a net positive, as long as the primary thing that's stopping you from booking those appointments is your own time. If you're like, I just don't have time, I'm treating, I'm managing the clinic, I don't have time to get back to these leads, and you're appointment booking rate dwindles down to below 40%, that's the time, in my opinion, to hire somebody to make those phone calls and do that follow-up. So that's typically the biggest fulcrum switch, is when when a clinic brings on an admin that handles follow-up and handles sales. That's usually when they start picking up some major speed, because they're able to get out of a big portion of the pipeline when they do that. So what I would say is focus heavily on sales and marketing. And when you start seeing that you're getting too many appointments and you cannot handle, or too many leads and you can't handle the actual follow-up, then you hire your admin who's going to follow up on leads. And do not just hire a practice manager to do the practice for you. Don't just do that. You want to hire a profitable position that is booking appointments on your calendar. You want to hire from the bottom up. So the smaller jobs first, then the big job that manages all the small jobs. You don't want to hire just a practice manager right out the gate and you say, oh, just do everything. It doesn't work. I've seen too many clinics drown in it. You have to struggle through it in the beginning, where you're doing a lot of it and then you're just slowly building up the pieces. Then you hire the practice manager as the cherry on top to run everything else.
That is that's so valuable of a tip. I hope that everybody heard that. And if not, go back 30 seconds and re-listen to that bit, because that was so true. And especially after like the last 10 years seeing our industry, you are absolutely right. That's what you see as kind of the breakdown of these businesses, is they start at the top and they work their way down. And you end up just way too top heavy before you have the balls rolling. Like, you have to have the balls rolling. Okay. 2 things that I want to talk to you about: educational opportunities and your opinion on educational opportunities. We kind of started to trickle in that. And then marketing as a whole. So you are actually my first guest to talk about marketing that is not social media marketing on the podcast. So thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit outside of just the social media side. What avenues do you feel like are important within marketing that aren't necessarily just social media? Or how do you feel like that breakdown should be? Social media is obviously an easy grab for people to just create an Instagram account, create a Facebook account, and start posting. But what else do they need inside of their marketing plan?
Okay. Also, I'm going to preface this by telling you that every time you prompt a question, so anybody who's listening to the actual podcast here, that's not just seeing clips on social media, you'll know this. Anytime you're prompting a question, you know this because we talked about this before, I'm thinking in hooks. So just so you know, I'm going to try to, every time you ask a question, I'm going to try to lead with some sort of a hook that you can use for social media, so that people can be like, and they'll watch whatever the thing is. Okay. So here's my, so anybody that's watching, you're going to see the hook, and you will probably see this as a post.
And learn from Jared and do what he's doing right now.
So I think that clinics can use this one free trick to get a ton of marketing to their business. That one free trick. Everyone always chases social media. They always chase SEO. They chase ads. They chase whatever. But I believe one of the most abundant resources locally is referral partnerships. So if a clinic can build really strong referral partnerships, so let's say there's a Pilates studio just up the street that has the eyeballs that you want, build some sort of a partnership with their owner or with their teachers, because the owner might barely be at the Pilates studio, but those instructors are there every day, and people are like, oh my gosh, who do you go to for XYZ? Who do you get facials from? Who do you get whatever from? Those instructors know. Local referral partnerships can super boost your. I know a clinic who went from 0 to 1.5 million only from referral partnerships. They were working with Pilates studios and plastic surgery and dermatology clinics that were referring them all their business. And they were just jam-packed. That was how we got our first. Mary Robb was the one who told me to do that. She was like, Jared, you have to build a stronger referral network. And I spent all of 2025 or 2024 doing that. And yielded a lot of fruit in 2025 from that. So referral partnerships, if you want one amazing free marketing trick, referral partnerships, build those local relationships. Because when people say, I'm all word of mouth, I would believe that if they have a referral partnership program. If it's word of mouth in the sense of like, everyone tells me, sorry, if it's word of mouth in the sense that like, everyone tells me, oh, my friend told me about you guys. It's like, that's just not a plan. Hope's not a strategy. But if it's word of mouth in the sense that some some other business told you to come there, then yes, that is amazing. So if I were to freshly launch a clinic and I wanted a plan, I would have a really strong referral plan where I am going to as many derm clinics, I'm going to as many plastic surgery clinics, I'm going to as many Pilates studios and high-end hair salons and wedding planners. I'm going to as many people that have the eyeballs of my clients and saying, hey, how can we work together? So that's number one. Number two is SEO. I think is highly, highly, highly valuable for people to start establishing themselves in now. And if you're not big enough to hire a full-on agency to do your SEO, you can start to do your own. You can start to kind of manage it yourself. When you hire somebody else, it's going to majorly upgrade it. And then social. I think if you have those three in the beginning, you're going to crush. I don't personally think you should invest too heavily into ads in the very beginning. I just think, especially if you're investing into meta ads in the beginning, you're going to get a high volume of leads that you will have to sift through. And it's going to put a bad taste in your mouth because you're going to say, oh, I got 100 leads and only 30 turned into appointments. It's like, well, that's not a terrible conversion rate.
Actually great.
Facebook, you know, where it's like, if you got 30 appointments and 100 leads, it's not too bad, but they might be like, well, that stinks. And it's like, we have been around long enough to know that that's actually pretty good for meta ads. So I think SEO, social media, and referral partnerships are really good organic channels to build up your pipeline, at least in the beginning. And then as you grow, like when you're in, Beyond Skin, you guys are definitely in a position where you should be doing ads. You guys are so well established. You should have a strong pipeline of leads coming in there as well. So as you guys establish yourselves, then invest into ads, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. And ads are something too that you can kind of turn on and off depending on how you can handle them as well. So going back to the beginning of the episode of, we feel that ebb and flow of, can we handle this right now? Can we not? When we get to that point of, okay, can we handle all these leads coming in? That might be a time to back it off of the ads and just keep like the bare minimum rolling. And that's also too, and this is a whole separate podcast type idea, but with ads too, your goal for the ads can be totally different. So we might have a goal for the ads of getting butts in a chair as fast as possible, or our goal for ads might be just social awareness where people are seeing our face and we're staying in front of people's, eyeballs as they're scrolling through Instagram. So we're staying front of mind. And that's what our, goal is with our ads at that point. And that can ebb and flow too. So ads is a whole different beast, but I agree with you. I feel like that should be separate from, I like those three pillars. I think if I had to name the three that I would say like focus on these, it would be word of mouth referrals and then socials and SEO, because you can't count out your website and your SEO. Everybody, they might see you. Social might be that last touch point of, they see a post pop up and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot I wanted to book for this appointment, but they have to have somewhere to go back to. So your website, your SEO, that's kind of like your baseline that you can build everything off of from there.
Yeah,
and I really like
if you're going to pay for anything, buy a good website. Like pay for a well-designed website. If you're going to pay for anything and you want to do free for everything else, I think the one thing you shouldn't skimp on is a good website, because your website is your digital storefront. It would be like skimping on the practice itself, where people walk in and they're like, this does not feel like it looks like it feels on social or whatever. You don't want that online either. You don't want it to feel like, janky. So if you're going to invest into something, in my opinion, you should invest into at least a good web design, even if you can't afford ongoing web management or ongoing SEO or ongoing social media services from someone, at least invest into a good home base digitally.
And that's not just a pretty website. That's a website that functions really well and is pretty. You got to have both sides of that. If the user can't use it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got to be converting. If your website's converting, it's doing its job. We have somebody we just started working with her a few months ago, and she had been working with this clinic for years. She's a practice manager, and she their site was not terrible. It wasn't awful, but it was getting them nothing. We built them a new one, and I checked in on her 2 weeks later, and I was like, hey, how's it going, by the way? And she goes, Jared, it is like somebody turned on a fire hydrant in our business. The faucet is on, and it is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And I'm telling, I'm like, I need this. I need to capture whatever this energy is to put on our marketing
Yeah.
collateral. And she goes, I'm serious. She goes, I've been at this clinic for forever, and I've never seen a lead come through the website. And it is within 2 weeks become the only thing that is producing leads for us. I'm like, that's right. That's what I'm talking about. But it's because
I
of
love that.
the other one was pretty. This one was conversion rate optimized. So this one was the strategy was, how do we get them off the page and into your sales pipeline? And most people stop at pretty design. They don't go all the way through conversion rate optimization.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did we just describe the name of your business?
Was that
I mean, aesthetic conversion.
Conversion. That's exactly right. Yes.
That's it. You have to have it pretty, but it also has to convert. I love that.
It has to convert.
All right, I'm going to take us totally left turn here. So something that I love to watch as you are bouncing around the country and speaking and really just learning everything I can from you is you are truly everywhere, and you invest in education, and you know the people that are worth listening to and the places that are worth attending. And that's what I want to talk about. So you are a Gain faculty member. You speak with Gain, but you also speak so many different places. Where do you feel like are your favorite places to go? And do you feel like it's valuable for practices to send their employees to conferences and things? Who do you think is the right person to go to these conferences and educational opportunities?
Wow. Okay, that's a really heavy. Okay. So
I know.
I have mixed advice on every single thing, because people will say, "What's the best show?" And I'm like you can't just say there's a best show, because there's a best show for different things.
Thanks.
So first, to answer your final question is, should you send your employees? Yes, you should. You should send the employees that you're like really investing into. Absolutely. Because they should know the state of the industry. They should know what's going on. They should be sitting there taking notes. A lot of these conferences will have like a business course as well. So if you want to bring your practice manager to get, I will consistently, from conferences I go to and attend, I'll have lots of clients in the audience, and I will see all the practice managers in there, and they'll come up to me afterwards like, okay, I'm going to call you on Monday because I have so many ideas about this, and this. And I'm like, I love it. I love it. Let's go. So 100% bring your practice managers and your business managers, bring your estheticians to go through the esthetician tracks at these shows. Like Aesthetic Next has an amazing one. Or the aesthetic experience with Optimized Aesthetics. They're going to do a full-on esthetician show.
Yeah.
So which shows would I recommend? So we already talked about Cult, who I am head over heels for. I always say Cult is my favorite ever, just because it is so tight and intimate, and it's for I've seen so many people get levels up there. So I think Cult is really cool for that. I think that the Accelerator from Aesthetic Record is an amazing program as well. Yeah. You get one-on-one coaching from industry experts. They will just sit down, look at your entire business. I did it as I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it this year. I spoke at it last year, and then I consulted the first year for it, where I was sitting for 30 to 40 minutes a piece and going over every single marketing number of these clinics and saying, here's what you have to do next. And there was no sales pitch. There was no, and here's how I'll do it for you. It was, here is exactly where you are, and here's what has to happen next for your business to win. And I think we ended up working with 1 or 2 out of the 30 that that got that consultation. So it's an incredible one-on-one experience, and you will know exactly where your deficiencies are by the end of that weekend. So Accelerator is awesome for coaching. Cult is awesome for like next level and getting one-on-one with KOLs. AmSpa, the MSS show, which is happening in April, I believe, or April in Vegas, is incredible. If you just want a full look at what's happening in the industry, MSS is an amazing show to do that, because they've just got a little bit of everything. And there's an amazing business track. There's an amazing clinical track as well. If you want to know what's happening in the industry as a whole globally, then there's one happening in Miami called AMWC in February. AMWC in Miami is rocking. I love the show because it gets key opinion leaders from all over the world, because it's owned by a company called Euromedicom and Informa. And Informa is a global presence. There's an aesthetic show in Monaco. There's one in London. There's one in Dubai that they own. So it's like they have this global presence, and they bring these global key opinion leaders to talk about the state of the the world for aesthetics, which is really cool. If you're trying to if you want to learn about interesting things that are happening in Korea, you know, and like, oh, what kind of skincare things are they doing over in Korea? You can get that at like an AMWC in Miami. So that's February. And then Aesthetic Next. Aesthetic Next is in September. That is my favorite show of all time, easily, because they just have such a wonderful community there. They keep it so fun and engaging the entire time. They take such good care of everybody who's there. They have amazing education and amazing key opinion leaders from all over the country. It's a massive show. The exhibit hall is always awesome. They're just Aesthetic Next is an amazing conference. And they've been around for a long time as well. I think they're in their 7th year. So they're
8.
dynamite. 8th year. Yeah, they're going into their 8th
It's their 8th year.
So
yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say Cult and Accelerator for intimate. I would say AMWC if you want to learn about what's happening around the globe. I would say AmSpa if you want to know what's happening in the States and what's newest and what's fresh. And then I would say Aesthetic Next if you want a really good general show.
I would agree with every single one of those. I have not been to Cult. I have not been to AMWC.
Oh, you should. AMWC is awesome. Yeah, that'll be in February.
I did not have that on my radar. I need to add that to my list. I have like a running list on my computer.
Have you done Aesthetic Next? Or sorry, not Aesthetic, the Aesthetic Show. Sorry, in Vegas.
Yes. Oh, not the Aesthetic Show. No, I did the medical spa show, but not the Aesthetic Show. Like I did the AM Spa one.
The Aesthetic Show is owned by the same company that owns AMWC in Miami. They're called Informa. So they own AMWC, they own Aesthetic Show, and they own Vegas Cosmetic Surgery. The Aesthetic Show has been a staple in the field of aesthetics for I think over a decade at this point. Yeah, it's awesome. It is awesome. I love that show.
I've heard great things.
That's at the Win. Yeah, it's kind of the Aesthetic Show. I think of as like, it's like, I don't think of it like a KOL summit, but like I know that if I go to the Aesthetic Show, I'm going to see all of my speaker buddies. Every speaker buddy that like I look forward to seeing at all the shows will be there. Last year at AMWC in Miami, somebody came up to me. She goes, "What are you looking forward to the most for AMWC Miami?" And I was like, honestly, I'm just looking forward to seeing all my friends. I haven't seen anybody in like 3 months because like November is like the last show in our industry. And so it's like November, then December, then January. And then finally we all get to see each other again in February. So, the Aesthetic Show is an awesome one as well. But I like the Aesthetic Show. I always just think like it's not a who's who, but like you really get to see like the top KOLs from all over the country. So it's a lot of my buddies that I just miss and want to spend time with.
A lot of them went to see the Eagles at the Sphere. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah. Me and Keon
at the Aesthetic Show,
and some people from Galderma did. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, everyone went. My employees went too.
Yeah. I had so much FOMO. I was like, that just looks like so much fun. I do love that about our industry is so many people are friends. And when you go to these conferences, you make friends with different practices all over the country, whether it is KOLs or it's another attendee that's going to the show for the very first time and you just happen to be sitting next to them and you stay connected with them. I have so many friends that I met 4, 5, 6 years ago at different shows that we still stay in touch throughout the year and give each other ideas because we're in these different markets. And I think it's so valuable. And I agree with you. I think that anybody in your practice should go to these shows that you are investing in. I think that encouraging your employees to go to these shows and maybe they pay for it up front, but then you reimburse them or, somehow because it does get expensive to send, but the excitement that comes from those shows, your employees are going to come back and be so fired up with all of these ideas. And then you run into how do you get them to implement those ideas, but it at least lights the fire and gets them excited and keeps them plugged into the industry and what's coming versus just going through the day-to-day motions of it. So I love the different shows and I love seeing you at the different shows too. And hopefully you're playing. It's so fun. Hopefully you're playing the piano again this year at Aesthetic Next.
I'll be playing at a couple of shows, I think, this year.
Will you?
Oh, one show I forgot to mention. If you're on the West Coast, LAMCA. That show is so stinking cool. It's in March. If you can go out to that one, I'm a huge fan because the clinical education is through the roof. The exhibitor experience is dynamite. And the business hall itself, the business track itself is super curated. I'm a huge fan of how they run their show. It's very boutique. It's at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills, and it is sorry, that's the one show I forgot. I love LAMCA. Sorry. But yes, that. I love seeing you at all the shows. I love getting to hang out with all my buddies. My biggest passion, how I've marketed our business, is just through education. It's the whole way I've marketed my business is I give everything away for free. And then when somebody sees the value in what I'm bringing to the table, they say, oh, okay, great. I'd rather have you do it for me than Joe Schmo. And that's fine. But if somebody wants to do it themselves, then I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, it's working for you. If it's a good business plan you've got going. Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here. I did not prepare you for my last question, but if you've listened to the podcast before, maybe you've been thinking about it. I like to ask all of my guests on the Bright Side of Beauty, what is something that is beautiful to you? And that can be something that is literal, philosophical, however you want to take that. You can have multiple answers if you'd like. But Jared, what is something that is beautiful to you?
What is something that's beautiful to me is being present. I had a very emotional, I had like a spiritual awakening from a video game this last year. I'm not a gamer, but I had heard about this game called Outer Wilds. It's a really indie whatever game. And I have never locked in the idea of being present more than when I completed that. My wife was like, you're different. And it's because like all of a sudden I'd had this unbelievably high value around being here right now, and how the person standing, the only moment that you're ever guaranteed is right now. You're never guaranteed what's going to come next. And you're not even guaranteed that what happened before you was real, but you are guaranteed that right now, this moment is real. And I think that that's beautiful. And so I've been trying to exercise that with my kids, with my wife, with my business, with my friendships, is that whatever's happening right now is the most important thing in the whole entire world. The most important moment. I've been telling that to my daughter for the last 8 months. I'm like, what's the most important moment, Rennie? And she's like, right now. I said, that's right. Right now.
I love that.
It's the only thing you're guaranteed.
It's so true, my friend. That is, do not disturb is a wonderful feature on our cell phones.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. Could not agree more. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for joining on the Bright Side of Beauty podcast. You're going to have to come back. I could have asked you 5 million more questions, but I know that we have gone on and on. So I hope that you as the listener have gotten a lot of value out of this. If you want to find Jared, drop all of your things. How do people reach you if they want to talk to you?
You can follow me at Jared Rohrer, JaredRoars, Roars on Instagram or TikTok or any other social media. That's my handle. And then if you are a med spa or a clinic, you can go to aestheticconversion.com. We have a little form that you can fill out if you want me to go over your specific marketing numbers and let you know exactly what you need to do next, free of charge. Just fill out the form and say, hey, Jared said that I could chat with him about my marketing plan, and you and I can sit and chat for 30 minutes and just say, what exactly do you need to do next in order to win?
I highly suggest that everyone listening goes and does that, because the brilliance that is inside of Jared's mind, and because he is at all these different conferences and he does have so many brilliant friends, it just adds to it. And he's a wealth of knowledge, and he does for free pour that out into you. So definitely go fill out that form, get meeting with Jared for that. And Jared, I will see you really soon at one of these wonderful conferences that you've dropped, because I'm going to be all over.
Please. Oh, let me know. Yeah. Let me know if you're going to any of them. I would love to see you there. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, friend. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.